The United Nations is the international organization responsible for maintaining peace and security among the nations, as well as developing a healthy relationship between them. However, not everyone agrees with them. The effectiveness of the organization has been put in doubt and discussed for years by diverse groups of people all around the world. Aiming to solve this conflict, the students at Universidad Politécnica Metropolitana de Hidalgo have been gathered today to discuss this topic on a debate.
Good afternoon, classmates. Today, 3rd of September of 2019, we are present to talk about the UN. We are going to do a debate because we are going to talk about a problem that a lot of people think about it. Because some people think that the UN don't do their work of the correct way. Someone thinks that the UN do their work and do things that they don't need to do. And by the other side, people think that the UN do all their best work to take the problematics of the nations and the world and solve them. But in not all the case that it's correct. In this moment, we have in my left hand the team that is against the idea of the UN don't do the work of the correct way. And in my right hand, we have the team that is in favor in the idea that the UN do their work in the correct way, because they believe that the UN did their best effort to solve all these problematics. Now, let's hear about the against team in this moment, please.
Good morning to all present. Today, September the 3rd of this year, we are gathered here to talk about and discuss a particularly controversial topic involving the United Nations. Their actions and deficits in different areas such as healthy, safety, environment, and finally, human economic development. Since the creation at the end of the Second World War on October 25th, 1945, the UN has established as its main objective to maintain and promote world peace and friendly treatment between countries around the world, forming today by 193 states and aims to solve problems worldwide. On our part, we are the team that is against that the UN is a failed organization. We firmly believe that global development is being possible if everyone works together. In collaboration with UN, after this brief introduction, we made this meeting. Thank you.
You're the 2 minutes? Okay. Well, and now we're going to hear about the other team, the favorite team, about the idea of the UN as a failure organization. So let's hear them with attention, please.
Thank you. Well, to start talking about it, why we are in favor of the organization of the United Nations does not serve as an organization. It starts from points of history, since the idea of having an organization to defend serious events in the world has been proposed for several centuries, but it was done in good shape until the first major problem in the world ended, the First World War. In 1919, that is why in that year, the one that was the predecessor of the United Nations was created, that was the Society Nations, which was created to fix the world conflicts, but for several circumstances it did not work since that began the Second World War. And we all know what happened, and we do not know if the same thing will happen with the current United Nations. since having too many problems does not worry about them, and problems such as the Syrian war, genocide in Rwanda, and among others.
Now what we heard about the teams and the introductions, we are going to talk about rules. Well, we know this topic is so controversial, so let's manage it with all the caution that we can. Let's be respectful and don't offend the other teams. Please, when you're going to make a counter argument or want to speak to the other teams, please make it with respect and try to not do something that could be considered like an offense, okay? The rules are very simple. You have 1 and 30 seconds to talk about your topics, and you have 20 seconds to make a counter strike. We have 4 principal facts or topics in this debate. The first topic is health. The second topic is security, environment. The third one is social and economic development, and the fourth one is the environmental care. We have 4 flags to describe when you have 30 seconds left, 20 seconds left, 10 seconds, when you can begin to speak. When you're going to make a counter argument, I'm going to raise this because you only are going to count with 20 seconds to make your counter argument. When the 20 seconds run out, well, your time is going to begin to run. These 20 seconds are free of your time that you dispose. But when you use completely these seconds or this time, you're going to begin to use your own time of your team. So be careful with this, okay? Well, each team have 2 flags too. Each team have 2 flags too. One is the green. What that means to do a new topic, to change about it, but being in the same principal topic. It's just for new ideas or things like that. And the second one, the red, is to make a counter argument. So when they raise that, you are going to talk about or what you're going to answer to the other team. Please be attentive to the flags, because if you lost if you don't have paying attention, you are going to have a mistake, or it could be some offensive if I just told you, sorry, but your time is over. If you are not paying attention to this, you are going to maybe have a bad moment. So please be attentive to this. We are going to begin with the first topic, what is the health one. So we're going to begin with the team of the alliance. So who is the first one is going to begin the debate? You? Please. Oh, one thing more. Meanwhile, the other team is speaking, try to pass off the flag. For the moment that it's your turn, you're ready to just raise the flag, okay? You have 1 minute and 30 to begin, okay? So, start.
Well, we're gonna start about the health topic. Since its creation, the United Nations actively participates in the promotion and protection of health worldwide. The World Health Organization, WHO, is the body that is the forefront of this action within the UN. Its constitution entered into force on April 7, 1948, a date that we can now celebrate each year as World Health Day.
You still have time. Do you want to save it?
Save.
Okay, save it. Who wants to speak this side? You? Well, begin.
The UN does not attend on time the problems that cause millions of death. The WHO published those failures, and 22% of the global population are victims of this negligence. So this is a really big problem because a lot of people died because the UN doesn't have the knowledge of these people. So this is a big negligence.
You finish? Who wants to speak this side? You want to do a quarter? 30 seconds.
Actually, the UN has so much specialists, doctors, scientists working on that. They are not ignoring them, they are just working in all the world, in more than 150 countries. So they are not just letting that happen. They are trying to cover all what they can.
Finish? Who wants to speak? You? Okay. Let's begin.
How can you defend that in the UN, most specifically in the WHO, there are some cases about sexism, racism, and corruption? And if I may share this information to you, these are internal cases from WHO. The Associated Press Agency had access to 3 letters addressed to WHO directors in which they denounced systematic racial discrimination against employees of African origin, who are victims of abuse, insults, and contempt by their peers.
Who wants to decide? Sure. Begin, please.
Well, the WHO has priorities. WHO has 6 leadership priorities. Progress of these priorities will accelerate progress towards a new sustainable development goal for health. One is advancing universal health coverage. This enabling countries to sustain to expand access to all need health service. 2, achieving health-related development goals, addressing unmet and future challenges relating to maternal and child health, combating HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, etc. Addressing the challenge of non-communicable diseases and mental health, violence and insurance and disabilities. 4, ensuring that all countries candidate and respond to acute public health threats under the international health regulations. 5, increasing access to quality, safe, efficacious, and affordable medical products. And 6, addressing the social, economic, and environmental determinants of health as a means promoting health. Same with that.
We have 4 minutes left for this topic, so if you're going to make a counter or begin another idea in the topic of health, of course, this you choose. It's up to you. Begin.
Also, we know about the corruption that was in Africa when the Ebola attacked the continent. There are cases of racism and corruption during the Ebola from the WHO. And I'm going to share again with you the information. A series of anonymous emails sent to certain senior officials of the World Health Organization has prompted an internal investigation in this event-dependent body. These emails denounce a series of bad practices at the agency's African headquarters, which included systematic racial discrimination against non-white officials like European workers.
Finish. So, you may do the counter. Okay. 20 seconds. Begin.
Actually, we are working in an effort made by the World Health Organization. For 30 years, smallpox was officially declared eradicated in the entire planet. We are fighting neglected tropical diseases, and we have a program of the World Health Organization. It has reduced of the level of river blindness in West African countries and enable agriculture work on 50 million hectares of fertile land. So, what is your base for saying that we are working on that topic?
You want to make a counter? Okay. Okay. Begin now.
Actually, there are information from different and true sources, from a real and true facts. So, if you need me to read some more information, I will do it.
Okay. Finish. Justo el tiempo de lo que las líneas es igual.
The challenge confronting public health are continually changing. We must be constantly ready to evolve to meet new demands and adapt the ways we go about our work. So the diseases evolve and they become immune to vaccines. So is always is change, and the who is inculcated of the different problems of the world. Can I say the thing? Can I complete your idea?
No, just can speak one per turn. It's your turn. Begin.
The most damaging thing is perhaps that the blue helmets have been accused of having introduced cholera into Haiti, which caused the lives of more than 10,000 people.
Oh, sorry. 1 minute left. So make your finish argument. We're going to pass to the other one. Yeah. Okay. You dispose of 1 minute 30 and 33 seconds on your back time. So we'll keep the whole of the other you can begin.
So you guys, you're saying that the United Nations are a failure organization, but I want to share with you real quick one of the greatest achievements that they have made. I want to share real dates, so I'm going to start with antibiotics. 1950, that was the year that they found the antibiotics. That was one of the greatest years. I want to move on with polio, 1988. They paralyzed, they decreased 99% of the polio in 1988. So the next topic, one of the greatest achievements, tuberculosis, 1995. They saved 37 million lives in that year. I wanna share another one with you. AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, 2001. They work along with another organization, the Global Fund to Fight AIDS. We know that this topic is one of the hardest because it's one of the mortalities causes AIDS and tuberculosis, and they were fighting to save all those people in that year, 2001. And we move on to 2006, children mortality. They saved 10 million lives in that year. So the United Nations, without the United Nations, the war was going to be the worst system. So the United Nations saved a lot of people in those years. So it's one of the greatest organizations in the history.
Time. Well, you have a lot of time. You have 3 minutes and 36 seconds. But we're going to count the half like that, 2 minutes, and we're going to save the rest of your time because we need to change of topic. So you dispose of 2 minutes to do a counter if you want, or make a new point. It's like the rest of the time. Begin.
If we can say that the UN has tried to support the world to end these problems, but still there has not been a big difference during these years, since there have been more cases of death and sometimes there is no support. This is a graphic where we can see the lows and the highs. So actually there is very slow. That's it.
Oh, you can continue.
This is all.
It's all? Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to change of topic. This was the topic of health. Now we're going to talk about the topic of security, okay? So you have 1 minute to talk with your team, put your ideas on the air, okay? So begin. Please silence. Your time is over. You take about 2 minutes, or these 2 minutes are going to be discounted of your time. So let's begin with the other topic, what is security. We're going to begin now with this team to be called, okay? So, who is the one who wants to begin with the topic? Okay, new topic? Begin.
We would like to talk about terrorism first. Many experts agree that terrorism began with the 1968 hijacking of Israel by a Palestinian group terrorists. The United Nations condemned the action. They failed to take any further actions. These terrorist acts continued throughout the remainder of the 20th century with no reaction from the United Nations. A simple condemnation was as far as they would go.
In this team, who wants to you? One. Perfect. Begin.
The UN comes with a Security Council, which has the primary responsibility for the maintenance of the international peace and security. It has 15 members and each member has one vote. Under the Charter of the United Nations, all member states are obligated to comply with Council decisions. The Security Council takes the lead in determining the existence of a threat to the peace or act of aggression. It calls upon the parties to a dispute as settled it by peaceful means and recommends methods to adjustment or terms or settlement. In some cases, the Security Council has resorted to imposing sanctions or even authorized the use of force to maintain and restore international peace and security.
Finish. Okay. Go on. You like a counter?
Yes, but what about with the 9/11 terrorist attacks? The United Nations finally took action allowing terrorists and punishing those responsible of their attacks. But this applied only to Al-Qaeda and the terminal state-funded terrorist programs, such as Hamas, Hezbollah, and Mossad were unaffected.
Two. Counter. Okay. One more. You have 20 seconds. Begin.
Okay, September 11. The Security Council in September 12, 2001, it condemns equality in strongest terms the horrible terrorist attacks and took place in New York, Washington D.C. and Pennsylvania, and considered these acts, just like any act of international terrorism, constitute a threat for peace and security international. And that is the reason that the UN in 2001 was the creation for the Committee Against the Terrorism, CTC.
Finish. So it's done. No, you use time of your own team. So don't worry. Well, you have time to a counter. A moment, please. You have 20 seconds. Begin.
In 2002, when the headquarters in Iraq, United Nations didn't want the security that the United States wanted to give to them. The decision finished with 22 people dead and 150 people injured by the explosives detonated in a car close to the hotel, the Canal in Baghdad. That's all.
That's all. You take 7 minutes of your time back. Okay. What will you do? Another counter. Wait. You have 20 seconds left. And begin.
On September 28, 2001, the United Nations created a Committee Against Terrorism. The United Nations, on October 24, 1970 and confirmed by the Council of Security. Its resolution 11/1989 of August 13 that all the states have duty to refrain from organizing, instigating, and supporting terrorist acts pretended another state participating in them, as well as allowing activities organized in their territory in order to commit such acts. That's it. Take that.
You take a lot of time, but don't worry, you have saved. Please forward. Under.
Can I speak? Can I speak?
Or it's their turn of time. In the next turn, you can speak, okay?
To say that.
No, you have time.
Yes,
Save it. But remember, it's just one per
Just the
turn.
word. Continue.
Counter.
The idea that the Security Council is imposing sanctions on individual terrorists, freezing their proprietary and prohibiting them from traveling. To this day, the United Nations still doesn't have a clear definition of terrorism, and they have no plans to do that. It's all.
Okay. That's a big surprise. Your turn. Another counter.
Well, there are currently
Sorry. What you are going to do? A counter or a new topic? Your flag? Okay. 20 seconds. Begin.
There are currently 16 peacekeeping operations deployed in different parts of the world. So, the UN has the base, and we know how many people are dead in there. And in 20 of February 20 of this year, the UN expressed its commitment to continue supporting efforts to deny terrorist groups access to funding and financial services through the ongoing work of the United Nations counter-terrorism bodies and the FATF and its FSRBs to improve anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing frameworks worldwide, in particular their implementation.
Finish. 1 minute, 1 second. 39. 40. Okay. The last one, we have 3 minutes approximately to change the topic. So let's begin with this side. Make your final, take your final topic, your final part, and let's continue with the other and finish and change the topic. You have, how many time have they left?
2 minutes 57 seconds.
Okay, we're going to use 2 minutes again, 57 seconds to the other topic. So let's move it to write it and save it. So please begin.
Okay. I want to remember the facts in Rwanda's Civil War. In 1994, what? 800,000 people killed from the enemy duty and 250,000 women was raped, while the UN troops surrounded the victims and just studied their spectators. During 100 days, the ethnical Hutu killed and drowned 8% from the ethnical Tutsi and 13% from the ethnical Batwa. Before 7 April 1994, the United Nations were notified about the plans by the ethnical Hutus, and that was important for the UN. France collaborated with the weapons 3 months ago. Bill Clinton, in that time, in that occasion, after to the genocide traveled to Rwanda, united under a white flag, giving his condolence and saying that USA didn't know about the situation in Rwanda, but research showed that the months before they got several documents explaining the situation in Rwanda and ethical Hutu. That's all. Saving time, please.
Saving time? Well, we are going to discard this time because it will be a lot of time, but you still have 50 seconds, 70 seconds left. It's a huge amount of time, so don't worry. It's because if we save more time, this debate will be much longer, and we don't have enough time to finish it. We are still going to pass to 2 other topics, and we have half hour. Okay? So you waste a lot of time in your counter strikes. You have lose 17 seconds, and you lose 42 seconds, so you don't have enough time. So we're going to give you, just let me a moment, 9 seconds. She only has 31 seconds left in this final topic. So please sound quickly with your passport, okay? Begin.
The UN is implementing resolutions, so the UN we shouldn't shift the responsibility that belongs to our governments and to us and to an institution. That's the easy way out. The UN cannot operate in a political vacuum. It's an organization of states, and when the states are divided on an issue, especially the big powers, of course it's difficult to the UN to act. As the people in Rwanda, as the people in my country, and every people.
Time. So let's go to the other topic. We have enough time to finish it. So we're going to talk about the social and economic development. You have 1 minute, and please, just 1 minute to talk about it, okay? The time begins now. Let's begin with the topic of social and economic development, okay? We're going to begin with this side. You have your 1 and 30 minutes left, and you know you can save if you have the opportunity and waste it in your counter, but please be attentive on your counter answer because you're going to waste your time, okay? Who is going to begin? Sure? Okay. Your time begin now.
Well, the United Nations is good for business. It has improved the soft infrastructure for the global economy by negotiating universal accept technical standards in such diverse areas as statistics, trade laws, telecommunications, custom procedures, and intellectual property, aviation, shipping, and other topics. It has large background for investing in developing economies by promoting stability and good governance, fighting corruption, and organs sound economic policies and business-friendly legislation.
Finish. 30 seconds. Just going to finish this way. Unless you. Okay. The time begin. Sorry. Remember, don't speak until you see this flag. The time begin now.
Okay. In the economic factor, we have the United States contributes with 22% of the UNA and 5.4 billion of the billion basic movement of the organization, currently comprising 193 countries. However, consider the UNA has 7.3 billion budget of their peacekeeping missions. The USA finances 28.5% of the operation, almost 3 times more than China, the second largest contributor. As the graphic shows, how USA contributes with extra money to involve or enter with the missions, and is corruption. It is corruption. If the USA decides to delay the UNA, it will be possible with any problem. As the same way, this may show that with such contribution, the USA has the possibility of making decisions by the UNA.
Okay. Finish. Do you take your class? Okay. Did you say Sai is going to talk? You? In a moment, please. Your time begin now.
Well, in another point of view, the United Nations have a conference on trade and development UNCTAD has helped developed countries to negotiate trade agreements and win preferential treatments for their exports. And it has negotiated international commodity agreements to ensure fair prices for developed countries, improve the efficiency of their trade infrastructure, and help them to diversify their production and to integrate to the global economy. Also, the International Monetary Fund has World Bank have helped many countries to improve their economy, provide temporary financial assistance to countries to help its balance of payment difficulties, and offer training of government's finance officials.
Who decide a counter argument and you. Please form up 10 seconds, and if you exceed it, you're going to take your time. Okay? The time in now.
Okay. So you're talking about a balance and balance in the global economy, yes. But this year, at the General Assembly of the United Nations, the President of the United States said, from now we will only give foreign help to those who respect us, and frankly to those are our friends. And we expect the other countries to pay their fair share for the cost to their defense. This will encourage other countries to intensify their actions, get involved, and share that great burden. So, if the United States just give a lot of money, and they will give lowest kind of money to the UN, and what about the other countries? They say that UA just going to help to their friends, and the other countries what happened with the other countries? And obviously not all the countries have the same economic development, so they can give more money or the equal money that the United States give to the UN.
Finish. Okay. ¿Cuánto tiempo esto? How many time to explain? Well, you wasted your time, but don't worry, it's okay. Okay, it's your turn. Are you topic? No? Beat. Counter. A counter? 1 minute. It's a counter on new topic.
Yes. No, a new topic.
A new topic?
No?
Okay. Your time begin. A counter on new topic. Please decide. Counter. Okay. Counter. So you didn't see? Okay. Your time of counter begins now.
Well, you say what happened with the other countries. Africa continues to be a high priority for the United Nations. In 2001, African heads of states adopted the continent's frame the new Partnership of Africa's Development, which the General Assembly endorsed in 2002 has a main framework on challenging international support to Africa. The continent receives 36% of UN system expenditures for development, the largest share among the world's regions. All UN agencies have special programs to benefit Africa. That's all.
That's all. 28 seconds. He decided. Another counter, perfect. Your 20 seconds begin. No? Okay. Your 20 seconds begin now, please.
The UN organization is supposed to donate 36% of its resources to Africa for its development, and is still one of the poorest countries in the world. Why is one of the most poorest country?
Finish? Another counter. Please use front of 20 seconds. Please begin now.
We are devoid special attention for development of Africa. Africa continues to have the priority for the United Nations. The continent receives 36% of total expenditures of United Nations development system, and the highest percentage among our regions of the world. All United Nations agencies have special programs to benefit Africa. We have 230 programs and projects in 137 countries for help in every country, and we have $15 million to fund the help more than 4,003 million women and men, grow a cell more, and that's it. We are working in that.
That's all. Okay. 10, 36 seconds. 36 seconds. Your next counter argument. Well, you spent a lot of time in the previous counter argument, and in the final 2 minutes that you had to give your final fact, well, you just remind 30 seconds. So you have 20 seconds left, and you wasted 10 seconds. So please be careful with that, okay? So we give you the. You? Okay. You counter 20 seconds begin.
Why the UN don't do nothing with the economic rewards? They are wars too, and a clear example of this is the conflict between China and USA in this year, and the UN don't do nothing about this. This conflict was resolved by the companies in USA that don't want to lose
No, continue. You have 30 seconds left.
Don't want to lose the tax that they had, and if they don't do that, they will going to pay a lot of tax.
Finish? Okay. Well, you have your 2 final minutes. Well, in this moment you have spent 10 seconds as the difference of the 20 seconds of counter. So you remind 20 seconds of your 2 final minutes. You, how many, please? You don't have enough time. No, worry. You have time, don't worry. Oh, but you have 48 seconds. 48 seconds. Plus your training there. No, you have 68 minutes left of your saving time of the previous test, of your previous fast. So, for you, just let me a moment. Later, okay, it's 2 plus 33 minus 22 minus 23. Oh, well, you spent your time. You have 2 minutes, and you haven't set the time, so you have 2 minutes to give you your final topic, well, your final fact, and we're going to go next to the last one. Sorry about that. So,
we won't share the time.
What? You won't share it?
There's a final conclusion.
No, we're going to use it. But you have saved time of your previous topics, and it has been accumulated. And when you do your counter arguments, you spend more of 20 seconds. So we reduce that time of what you saved, and you are going to use your 2 last minutes. We reduce your time saved. So
sorry. Would they want to talk? Both of them want to talk for the final argument?
You want
we can
vote?
Yes.
Well, okay. You're going to take the vote, and you can vote if you want. Just vote, okay? So you have 2 minutes left. This is your final fact, and well, your 2 minutes begin now.
Well, in the aspect that social, we have examples how UN is working all day. For example, civil war in Yemen since 2014. At present, UNICEF teams are working all day, and last year they served 3,045 millions of children with malnutrition, provide drinking water to more than 5 million each day, and will provide almost 9 million of the most vulnerable people. And if we talk about refugees, the UN agency that helps refugees and UNHCR, and also known as the UN Refugee Agency, which emerged in the wake of World War II to help Europeans displaced by that conflict. The UN Refugee Agency has its headquarters in Geneva, although 90% of its staff work in the field. The UN peacekeeping force then to protect the camps in which refugees have to live when they cannot meet their basic needs, such as food, water, or sanitarium. The UN family provides them.
You have 20 seconds left. Okay. Remember, these final 2 minutes are discarded if you don't use all the time. This is not, well, this can be saved. Just those 2 minutes final. We have heard about the final fact of the against team, so we're going to hear about the final fact of the favorite team, and we're going to pass to the last topic, okay? You count with 2 minutes, remember, use it completely and don't waste your time, okay? The time that remains of these 2 minutes will be discarded, okay? It won't be able to be saved, okay? So please, you have your 2 minutes. If you want to speak more of one, you can do it. Good, respecting the time. Your 2 minutes begin now.
Okay, in social development, for example, this data from the 1951 Refuge Statute Convention, which most countries signed it, obliges them to offer protection to those fleeing war and persecution. But country after country dispenses that treaty, and the United Nations has not been able to do much for countries to help.
That's all? Okay.
No.
You want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay. You have remind time, so let's continue.
Okay. More than 700 million people, or 10% of the world population, still live in extreme poverty and is struggling to fulfill the most basic needs like health, education, and access to water and sanitation. The majority of people living on less than $1.09 a day live in Africa.
That's all? No one else? Okay. Now, we're going to review the last topic, what is environmental care. Okay? So, for this final topic, we're going to give you 50 seconds in your bank, okay? You have another 50 seconds besides the ones you had, okay? Both of the teams have the same 50 seconds saved. You count with your 1 and 30 seconds, if no, we're going to begin with this side, okay? So, you have 1 minute to talk with your team and put your ideas on in the principal moment, okay? So, your minute begin now. Okay, your time is over. So let's begin with the last topic. Remember, you're going to have your minute and 30 to say your opinions, your 20 seconds of counter argument, and we're going to, and if you exceed with your time, we're going to take it from your remind time. So please be careful. Let's begin with this side. So we're going to begin. Who's the one who wants to speak? Who's the one who wants to speak? You? Okay. So your minute and 30 begins now.
San Jose Mercury News. On June 3rd, 1989, an environmental official at the United Nations, Noel Brown, says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if global warming isn't reversed by the year 2000. Coastal flooding and crop files could create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos. Mrs. Brown, director of the New York office of the United Nations Environment Program. He says government have a 10-year window opportunity to solve the greenhouse effect before it goes beyond human.
It's all? Okay. Please. 90 seconds. 67. Yes. No, so it's that your team, right? Okay. So, do you want to make a counter-argument? Who is the one who wants to speak? You? Okay. You have 20 seconds. Begin now.
The United Nations helps developing countries respond to the challenge of global climate change. 38 United Nations agencies have worked in alliance to address the problem holistically. For example, the Global Environment Facility, made up 10 UN agencies, finances projects in developing countries as a financing mechanism of the Convention of the Climatic Change. Each year, it allocates about $50 million to relation the projects of energy efficiency, renewable energy, and sustainable transport. We are helping the countries to deal with the changes, and we contribute to the ban on toxic chemicals. So, other United Nations has an action plans to help preserve biological diversity, protect endangered species, fight desertification, clean up the seas, and curb transborder movements of hazardous wastes.
Okay. 20 seconds. Plus. 50. So, you're going to make a counter? Okay. You have 20 seconds. Who is the one? You? Okay. Your 20 seconds begin now.
Okay. So you say that you have a lot of programs to combat to environmental care. And I guess one of that is the 23rd agenda. But be realistic. That agenda is just for countries that is developed. Not for other countries can finance the energy, the clean energy, and what happened with the countries like China, that they have a lot of emission of gases. You have a kind of sanctions, and if they say, okay, yes, I pay the sanctions, and you don't, and the UN do nothing, it's finished.
Yes. Okay. So, you want to do another counter. Who is the one who wants to speak? You? Okay. Please focus there. Focus. Your 20 seconds begin now.
Okay. Something of the most recent thing that the UN has done about the topic of global warming has been the Treaty of Paris, signed in 2015, in which most of the nations commit to limit their emissions of gases of greenhouse effect. It should be noted that the United States and China not signed the agreement. However, in current days, a congress was convened to speak again on the subject. This was last week on September 23. That's all.
That's 12. 45 seconds. 45 seconds. Okay. Who is the next? Okay, change of topic. Who is the one who wants to speak? You? Okay. You want 30 seconds begin? Now.
Here, this was what happened in Amazonas, Brazil, in this year due to the climate change. And that's all. That's all in the past.
Your turn. Who's the one to speak? You again? Your 20 seconds begin now.
Well, in the last Congress, the donation of $5,000 million was agreed to help the forests like the Amazonas. That's all.
You want to come up there? Another one? Who's the one? Here.
No. For example, the United Nations has planned the sustainability agenda for 2030, but although we are most 10 years after this deadline, there have been no solutions to the contrary until there have been worse things like all the current climate change. In addition to the fact that the World March for Young People recently made by the Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, all her words are right. It is useless to have a world organization when the world does not want to help contribute to test problems. It is an organization that does not, it is organized.
It's your turn. Who's the one? You? Okay. Start again. Each 20 seconds begin. Now.
As I said before, the UN is an organization of states. The UN cannot operate in political vacuum. Its critics and its supporters hold into impossibility high standards, but the UN was conceived as a very pragmatic response by war-ravaged countries who weighed up the downsides of compromise against the heavy cost of war, and it has to respect the national sovereignty. So, who will accept a world government? That's it.
Very sad. It's not your turn. No topic. You want? You? Okay. Your time of your 30 begin now.
What about about the nuclear proliferation as the creation of the United Nations. In 1945, the United States was the only nation in the world to own and test nuclear weapons. In 1917, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was signed by 119 nations, including 5 nations that admitted to owning nuclear weapons: France, England, Russia, China, and USA.
Yes, okay. Okay. That's all?
Yes.
That's counter. And you. Your 20 seconds begin now.
Even the big powers need to compromise where things don't always go their way, where the states can come together to try and solve problems peacefully, and where enemies don't just rub shoulders, but actually sit down and work together on shared challenge. So even at this time of heightened tension for the US and Russia, they are cooperating in a host of issues.
Who is next?
About the nuclear proliferation.
A counter or a new fact? Counter?
About the nuclear
20 seconds. Begin now.
About the nuclear proliferation. Despite this treaty, nuclear stockpiles remain high, and numerous nations continue to develop these devastating weapons, including North Korea, Israel, Pakistan, and India. The Defender of Non-Proliferation Treaty details the ineffectiveness of United Nations and their inability to enforce crucial rules and regulations on defending nations. That's all.
Your 20 seconds begin now.
We've also heard some passionate, which I would say, credit descriptions of how UN is dealing with Israel and Palestine. It's very easy to cherry pick facts, so the UN somehow ends up being biased against both Israel and Palestine altogether at once, but it's interesting that both Israel and Palestine continue to seek deeper engagement with the UN Palestine through membership Israel Security Council 2018 and 2019.
That's all. You pop? Yes. Hello? Your minute and 30 begins now.
Okay, I want to make a remember. After the Rwanda genocide, the United States took minerals from their floor from Rwanda. But before that, they created a new civil war, giving support to the rebels and buying the material with blood from the Rwandan people. It's probably that the cell phone that you have in this moment has that material with the blood of the Rwandan people. That's all.
To both teams, you have 2 last minutes to give us your final fact, and plus the 50 seconds what we're going to give you. You have 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So please use it the most of you can. Don't try to don't waste your time. If you're going to give your opinion, try to give it completely or completely. Okay, you have 2 minutes 50 seconds to try to use all the time that you can. You can begin right now.
The UN thinks for the future, the missions of United Nations is provide leaderships and encourage its work in caring of the environment, inspiring, informing, and empowering nations and peoples to improve their quality of life without compromising that our future generations. And her point about the Tesla is a plan for the future generations, no in present. The UN works for the present and for save the future, our future. Now it's not possible have for example that car, but in the future we can buy that materials, for example cars or panel, solar panel, and that's all.
That's all? Nobody wants to say anything else? Now.
Currently, the world is
Okay. So we're going to pass with the last one. Team, remember you have 2 minutes and 50. Try to use all the time that you can. Don't worry. You have enough. So, who's the one who wants to talk? You? Okay. You can begin. Now.
Currently, the world is totally crazy. A few days ago, young people from all the over world marched for discuss about climate changes. To end the climate changes, this also includes the UN for a good organization, but despite this, the UNA cannot do anything about it alone when the most powerful countries allow it if nothing else can be done. Also, for example, how they want to change or help the end climate change when great powers like the United States or China do not contribute to this and prefer to contribute to war or other things.
Okay. Well, let's go to the final conclusions. You want to add something else?
Nothing about conclusion.
Okay. You are going to have 2 minutes to think about it. Who is the one who wants to say that? And finishing it, well, that will be all in this debate, okay? So, think about it. Don't worry. Think. What are you going to say? Back to the final conclusions. Remember, you have 2 times, 2 minutes. You can share it with another partner. So, try to use all the time you have. Your 2 minutes of the final conclusions begin now.
Well, to conclude this session, we thank the general public for having accompanied us in hearing about our relevant points and how it contributes day by day with those already mentioned. We seek to guide the entire world population to know our actions as an organization and can recognize the effort that is done every day to be able to be a world with better social order so that we can demonstrate and deny some fallacy regarding our way of working for the good of the world. Activity there will begin and day by day continue contributing and growing the activate that public balance with an excellent social environment for a better coexist and interaction for each individuals as well as serves them.
And no organization has done all that can reasonably be accused of failing.
The consequence of you accepting the proposition, therefore, a very serious thing is the challenge we face today. Climate change, extremist displacements, they require global organization that can produce global solutions and provide crucial global services. We cannot give up to the UN. The UN reflects political realities, and if at times we don't like what we see in this mirror, then all of us in this room, we need to do more to improve it. It is so much easier to blame the institution than to put in the hard work we need to make the UN that the world desperately needs at this time. Or we could just sit back and hope that somehow Mr. Putin or Mr. Trump will get around the table and produce this new institution. The choice is yours.
Nothing more to add, we finished last meeting. Thank you.
That's all, thank you. So let's pass to the next one team, and let's call it at last one, okay? So you can begin with your introduction. Who's the one who wants to speak? You, okay. Remember, you have 2 minutes. You can share your time with your partner, so do as you want. Your 2 minutes begin now.
Well, in conclusion, I mentioned that it is essential for the new world, to know how to identify the problems that exist in our society and how we act against them now in a world with such great scientific advances and so much progress in humanity. We are entering a tunnel of corruption, selfishness, and human beset on lack of communication.
For us, the existence of an organization that cannot change our environment or even try is to lead us to the ring. As the eternally seated Swedish diplomat Dag Hammarskjöld said, the UN was not created to take humanity to paradise, but to save it from the hell. But seems that we are going straight to hell with this organization. If we want to improve the world, we must first improve ourselves, not be fooled and fight for our girls. In short, nothing guarantees that the world has a respect for human rights, and that there is not peace either, or maybe it has never been. And I can even say the same word said by the President of the United States, Donald Trump. The United Nations has such great potential, but right now, it's just a club of people who came together, talk, and have a good time. So sad.
So that was all of this debate. We hope you enjoyed it. I don't know, please follow us, subscribe, comment here down if you want something else.